Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday. We are watching Direct Line, and our special guest tonight is from EZPolitix CEO Spencer Heat. Welcome to the show, and I am filling in for the vacationing Mark Unkerford. And our hostess with the mostest, Jackie Saxton. Welcome.
Thank you, Dwight. Yes, Mark is out living his best life. Spencer is actually a good friend of mine, somebody I know not just through his great work with EZPolitix and data, which we'll get into, but also as a member of the Young Republicans. Mm-hmm. So we love young entrepreneurs on this show. Spencer, thank you for joining us all the way from Nebraska.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Spencer also did the texting campaign for my campaign. Mm-hmm. And I think we raised almost like $7,000 through Spencer.
Nice. All right. Happy to help.
So I guess the first question I want to ask is, because we do have a lot of candidates who watch this show, is where do you see texting now and where it plays a role in campaigns? Because it feels like it's kind of like it spiked a lot, especially during COVID. Mm-hmm. And now it's getting to that point where, you know, phones already have spam filters and detectors. So where is that line, and where does texting still play a role in campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. So texting plays a huge role, and it's increasing every single cycle. And part of it's because it's so cheap. It's so easy to just blast out messages and connect with people. But a lot of it's, you're able to connect with voters on their time. If they're not looking at their phone immediately, it's going to be there 2 hours later when they see it, and they can respond to it or see what you're pushing out. Like you said, so we operate a call center here out of EZPolitix, and what we've seen over the last several cycles is those answer rates start to decline pretty significantly. Texting is a great way to get around that.
Yeah, we had a guest on a few weeks ago, Jay Townsend, who's an author and a consultant from New York, and he had he was saying the best, you got to remember texting is a tool, as a campaign tool. You can't just rely on any one tool. And he was talking about how you do a postcard, then you follow up with a text, and then you follow up with maybe a robocall, so you've reached somebody 3 different ways, and then you hit them again with mail, and they'll start paying attention, and then after you get the second mail, you hit them with another text, and so on. Mm-hmm. But texting has really revolutionized campaigning. It hasn't, I know a lot of candidates think that, hey, a good texting, I don't need to knock on any doors, but you got to knock on doors too. You can't not knock on doors.
Yeah. But, no, you absolutely need a solid land, sea, and air campaign, we'll call it. You still have to do the door knocks, obviously, the mail, the radio, what have you, but texting should be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've talked on the show before with some other guests. I mean, door knocking in and of itself has gotten significantly harder with the Ring doorbells, because then people are like, no, go away. I see you. I'm not answering the door.
Look, the vice mayor of Bowie, she got elected. She knocked a lot of doors in Bowie, and she got elected the vice mayor over there, and she's one of us.
Good.
But, so tell us about the nuts and bolts of the texting campaigns, how complicated it is for Joe Six-Pack candidate.
Yeah, so it's actually remarkably easy. Really, in order to text, all you need is a good provider, a good platform to shoot out your messages. Content and a list of phone numbers. So really, it's still pretty easy to set up, pretty easy to blast them out. Of course, there's best practices for how you utilize texting in a campaign. Be very cautious, be very protective of the data that you have, the phone numbers you're using. If you're abusing we'll say the privilege, if you're abusing the privilege of texting people by sending out, multiple times a day, just press releases, things like that, you're going to burn out voters pretty quick.
Yeah.
But be conversational. If somebody takes the time to respond to your text, make sure that you respond back to them and have that conversational aspect of it as well.
And one of the things that is important to note with that is the text that you're sending out and who they're getting to is only as good as the data you're putting into it, right? So Absolutely. People send you the data and you just work with what you have, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So that's where things like cleaning up voter rolls becomes very important when we're out doing grassroots.
Yep. And until recently, we had a lot of presidential candidates. Which one of those do you think did the best and not so best of their texting campaigns? Because I know I was getting like 5-6 texts a day from Mike Pence, Ron DeSantis, President Trump.
I don't get any of them.
You don't? What did you do? Just block them?
I think I guess the spam filter on Androids is really good because they all just go into my spam folder.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. I get probably 15, 20 a day that, from various campaigns. Right now, Trump and Haley are obviously really the only two left, but yeah, there's a lot of them.
I still get texts from Jim Jordan. I get it from all these. I get it from Steve Garvey has been sending me texts. And I've been a Steve Garvey fan from when he was a Padre back in the days, in the 80s. There's a funny story about him. President Reagan wanted to run for governor.
Yeah. So one of the things that I learned when I first started doing campaign texting is it's very different than doing a blast email, and that you can't just mass send them out all at once, right? You have to actually have someone go through and click send however many times to however many people. So can you talk a little bit about why that is?
Yeah, so there's kind of a couple different texting universes that have existed for the past couple of years. The telecoms have rolled out we'll call it a program that they call 10DLC, 10-digit long code. And what that allows you to do is register your traffic and essentially treat it like you're doing a blast, like an email. Where, if you have people that have opted into your list, you can literally just press send and blast it out to, all 10, 15,000, however many people you have. Otherwise, the old school way to do it is called peer-to-peer texting, where under the Federal Telephone Consumer Protection Act, essentially any communication going to a cell phone has to have a human initiation requirement. And so that would be the old school tapping out to send texts individually.
Got it. Let's see.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain at times, but it works. So
it's a good finger workout.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I tell you, like the RNC, I mean, people are raising a lot of money on these texting campaigns. The RNC is doing well with their texting campaigns. And, this is a good way to get, like we used this, Spencer, on my campaign, when we were doing the matching funds. We were asking for $10, $20, $30, $50 like that.
Mm-hmm.
And people would they would do that because it was relatively easy to do, very low dollars. I don't think would you say it's just as effective on high dollars? Like if you're asking for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 type dollars.
I think it depends on the level of the race and what your name ID
Mm-hmm.
is coming into it. When we have clients come to us that say they want to do text fundraising, I always kind of head it off with the general disclaimer that, if you're Joe Sixpack school board candidate that nobody's heard of you, if you're blasting out, cold texting people saying, hey, give me $25, you're probably not going to have a lot of success.
Yeah.
But if, going back to Jackie's point earlier with everything being, dependent on the data that you have, if you have a really good list of people that or donors to to other candidates that support you, that you support, that you're on the same lines with, you're going to have a lot more success with that.
Yeah. And
so
go ahead, Jackie. Okay, yeah. And I know for our campaign, and I tell this to other candidates, I go, get a campaign newsletter up and running and get people to subscribe to your newsletter. And a little thing about MailChimp, you can require the phone number. So you've got cell phones, and now you have a built-in audience. And that's how I think our first list may have been 100 names, maybe 200 names at the most. That was just from our newsletter list that we had. People take, and a really good way of getting people I found is, like, I think you did this for us, was a opt-in survey where they would take a survey, and I think we did one on transportation where people just click the button, put their phone number, email, and that's another way we kind of collected a lot of data that way as well. And again,
yeah, and I think another thing that we did with yours was we'd send people out a text asking them to take a poll. Essentially, they'd click on the link, and it would take them through to, I believe it was your WinRed site, so that they could
Anodot. Actually, we used Anodot.
Anodot, perfect.
Yeah.
So, yep, and they go through and you collect data that way.
So you mentioned before the show started, and you can see your beautiful set there, that you guys have a TV studio at EZPolitix. So what kind of stuff do you do there? Because obviously it goes beyond just texting and phone calls.
Yeah, absolutely. So at EZPolitix in general, we do basically anything voter communications related for campaigns. So we obviously operate in the political sphere, but we're a tech company at heart. So texting, we've already talked about that, obviously a big part. We have a call center operation. We have a walk app. We do a lot of digital ad creation, digital placement. And we have a volunteer calling platform as well. So you can log in for your campaign and have, volunteers essentially phone bank from home for you. Yeah, and then you mentioned I'm in the TV studio right now, so most of our TV work right now is our U.S. senators, our governor, and our congressmen. Whenever they happen to be in Nebraska, if they're on, say, Fox News, Meet the Press, something like that, they'll come through and sit where I am and do those live shots.
That's super cool. So since you're kind of have your fingers in all of the different grassroots pies and see it all happening in real time, how do you see grassroots efforts changing as cycles progress?
Yeah, I think the bread and butter is still going to be door knocking for a long time. Going out and connecting with voters face to face. Phone calls are still effective. They're still a huge part of campaigns, but we're starting to see texting kind of work its way in there. We're starting to see the effectiveness of TV starting to slip a little bit as more and more people cut the cord and just kind of stop watching news altogether. And so we're seeing a kind of a I don't know if it's a shift or a realignment as far as how much ROI you get on your different versions of voter contact. But I think door knocking is still number one. It's still going to be number one for a long time coming. Phone calls are still up there, but the importance is starting to drop off as you see those answer rates lower. And so, things like texting, things like digital ad placements or over the top advertising versus cable TV are really starting to pick up.
So are you seeing a lot of candidates want to do, say, ad placements at YouTube or Instagram, doing ads in Instagram? And how is the changing the landscape of digital when Facebook just recently announced that they're not going to do political ads anymore as well?
Yeah, so in general, just as a practice, I've tried to keep our company away from doing social media advertising in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a pain to advertise on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, any of that stuff that I just try to leave that to the folks who focus on that as their business.
Yeah.
So the main part of what we do on our digital placements is we'll actually do IP or street address targeting. And so
Mm-hmm.
what we can do with that is actually import in a mail list. So say you're sending out a mail piece, we'll take that exact same mail list that you're sending your mailer to and import that for digital. And I like to run it as bookends. So we'll, 4 days before your mailer hits, we'll start serving those exact same houses with a complimentary digital piece. So that before the mailer comes, they've been seeing it for a couple days every time they log in online. And then we'll continue to run that for 4 or 5 days after the mailer hits, so that you continue to get get a little bit more ROI, a little bit more bang for your buck out of that mail piece.
Oh, that's super cool. So shifting gears a little bit, you are a member of your school board. And I think after that kind of seismic wake up during the 2021 governor's race in Virginia, and particularly what happened in Loudoun County, there's been a lot more emphasis. I think school board just even a couple of years ago was just like people circle the top 3 names on the list and move on. So have you seen that play out in Nebraska, which is obviously a lot more red than Virginia and Maryland are, and the importance of school board races?
We have, yeah. School board races here have gotten a lot more contested, a lot more heated over the last couple of cycles. A lot of it depends on kind of where you live and what district you're part of too. So my school district, we're divided into nine sub districts. So I represent obviously one of them. It's the only Republican sub district out of the 9, which makes it a little bit more interesting. But most of them are smaller districts. They're at large, a little bit more rural than we are here in Omaha, and those have definitely taken on kind of a more say social issue focus, and they've gotten a lot more competitive.
Have you seen that a lot more parents are coming out to these meetings than they were in years past and actually like wanting to have a direction on and say on what things are going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I mean, regardless of your political bent or where you fall on the issues, I think more parents being engaged with their kids' education is absolutely a good thing, for the schools, for society in general. I think we need to, try to involve more parents in the educational process.
I don't talk about work a lot on this show because I try to keep the two separate. I don't work in politics, but I have a coworker who loves to bring up politics. She's very much not aligned with us, and she actually said on a call, and I was like, I wrote to my boss, I'm like, you got to stop me from saying something I'm gonna regret. She's like, I think that we pay our school professionals to be the teachers, so these parents who think they know everything need to stay out of it. And I was biting a hole through my tongue.
Yeah.
And you notice there was the left in workplace where you're not supposed to talk politics, Like,
oh yeah, I know.
A lot of the places I go, we're not supposed to talk politics, but you sure enough, you have Wokey McWokey liberal putting up their 2 cents about, why we need to save the spotted owl in the rainforest, and how President Reagan destroyed all that stuff.
Absolutely. No, I think going back, it's important that those parents get involved in the educational process. And at the end of the day, it's your kid. You should have a say in it. And public schools are great, but if you don't like what your public school district is pushing, look for a different one. Look for a charter, private school, homeschool, whatever it is. But as a parent, you don't give up the rights to your child when they walk out your door and walk in the front doors of the school.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming the public schools in Nebraska are probably not as bad as they are in Montgomery County because, I hate to say it, we probably have a lot fewer atheists than we do in Montgomery County, in Nebraska, even in Omaha.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the schools in Montgomery County, but I can tell you we have a lot of great schools here. So
it's a pretty low bar to be better than yeah, and it's interesting. I feel like there's some classes that we need to bring back, and I think civics really is one of them. I mean, I'll say just learning how state politics works here and talking to so many rank and file voters who don't even know we have a state legislature, let alone the stuff that it passes and the impact that has on their quality of life here. It seems like there is a need for people to learn what's going on, especially like Dwight was saying, having maybe a little bit more religion in schools, or saying, the separation of church and state is actually not in the Constitution, right? Yeah. So, and I don't think a lot of people know that. They say that like it's like, gospel, I guess, for lack of a better term.
And on top of that, I mean, there's no harm with bringing God in. You notice the only people that really get offended when you bring God into the public schools is atheists. It's not Jews, it's not Hindus, it's not Christians, None of them have an issue with, you talking about faith in the classroom, but the atheists will always have that issue. You've got, and I think one of the stuff they need to really teach is economics, and I'm talking about financial economics. Like,
yes,
you'd be surprised how many, there's a YouTuber named Caleb Hammer. He grills millennials and Zoomers on finances and how horrible they are. Like, my favorite ones are ones where you have people that are making kids that are making 6 figures and are in debt like $100,000. How is that even possible?
Well, we could solve the student loan crisis by actually teaching kids about loans in high school and what interest rates are.
Yeah, so I don't know what you guys have out there, but so we actually have in state statute here in Nebraska that you have to, school districts have to have an American Civics Committee within the school board, and we have to offer a certain American civics curriculum. So all of our students, in order to graduate high school, there's civic engagement requirements. There's requirements where you have to get involved, volunteer with say a political campaign or your city council or your congressman, what have you. We're not telling kids what they have to believe or what political bent. Just get involved, learn about how your government works. And on the financial literacy part, we have financial literacy graduation requirements too. And we're not I'm not going to say that taking one financial literacy class in high school is going to mean that you're never going to go into debt, but it's definitely a good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need both those things here.
I mean, back in the olden days, the late 80s and early 90s, Maryland actually had a functional citizenship test requirement for graduation. And in there, you had to know the terms of the president, how many justices on the Supreme Court, terms of governor, how old you have to be to run for office and stuff like that. And that was and that's actually where I learned about the House of Delegates in Maryland, that as soon as you turn 21, you can run for House of Delegates,
So one other shift in topic, the big news line of the day today was Mitch McConnell announcing that he was stepping down from leadership come November.
Saw
And I
that.
think that plus, our two primary presidential candidates right now, Biden and Trump, there's been a huge focus and emphasis on age and especially in our elected officials and cognitive ability. So do you see this as an opportunity for more young people to potentially be elected to office? Or do you think despite people complaining every single day about how old all of our elected officials are they going to continue to vote for the same incumbents?
I think younger people are always going to have an inherent hurdle getting elected, right? You're say a young professional, you don't necessarily have the 30-year resume to run on that somebody a little bit older has. But I think the tide's starting to shift. I think people are really starting to open up to new ideas. That doesn't mean that if you're 27, you're going to run for Congress and be successful the first time around. But start building the bench. Start running for school board, for county board, things like that, and kind of building up your resume so that younger people, when you are ready, you can step up and run for Congress, Senate, what have you, and be successful. But I think as a party, we need to continue to support and push younger candidates. I think the voters are definitely starting to open up for it.
Yeah. I don't honestly at this point younger could mean in their 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's
not
the
much
thing,
younger,
Jackie.
but
It's like when I first time I ran for House of Delegates, I was all but 21 years old when I ran for House of Delegates.
Because you learned you only had to be 21.
Yeah, I know. And, also I made all the mistakes. Like if you go to check out the website, republicantoolbox.com, I talk about all the mistakes. Like when you first run for office, and this is like candidate-itis. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think it's happened to other. You equate whatever office you're running with is you're running for president of the United States. So you think you need to buy radio spots. You need to buy every possible tchotchke there is. You need to buy maps with your names on it and all sorts of fun stuff like that. And I did that, and I like tchotchkes, so therein lies the problem. But I mean, that's stuff that a lot of candidates do get into trouble. First time candidates, especially. That's one of the reasons for actually putting together that little website for, hey, don't do what I did. But running for office is a lot of fun. I think everybody should run for office at least once in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so going back to young candidates, this past cycle in 22, we worked with an 18-year-old that we got elected to the state house up in North Dakota. He actually graduated high school right before he was elected, and he's a state rep up there now. So, it's possible. Get involved and run for office.
Yeah,
we just elected Jake, who's what, 20? 21?
Jake is 20, and then we have Mason Carter, who was 18 when he got elected to county council up in Frederick. So kind of as we come to the last few minutes of our show here, we like to give people an opportunity to plug what they have going on. Obviously, you have a company to plug. So if we have candidates watching or groups watching who want to take advantage of EZPolitix and get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is EZP, letter E, letter Z, letter P, .biz, B-I-Z. So go ahead and check us out on the website. We've got some contact information, contact form on there. Otherwise, shoot me an email. It's Spencer@EZPolitix.com. Spencer@EZPolitix.com. But yeah, we'd love to talk with you. We're obviously based in Nebraska, but we have campaigns that we're a part of in 38 states right now and growing. So we'd love to see how we could help you out.
Yeah, and Dwight and I can both speak from personal experience that
Yes.
he's very quick to respond to emails. Very, very helpful.
Yeah. And look at this. It's a beautiful website. And look, you guys got Winsome Sears, McMaster's, you got some great folks, Ted Cruz.
We've been a part of a lot of big ones. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, anything from school board on up. So we're happy to be a part of it.
And Dwight, what's going along around the state of Maryland? That people
let's see. I'm thinking about dinner, but we'll talk about that. We'll come back to that. But let's see. Coming around, we've got a book event coming up on April 4th at the home of Durkin Dirk and Jessica Hare. It's about Governor Ehrlich and his newest book. It is hilarious. It has 101 reasons how America went from being sweet land of liberty to weak, woke, and wobbly. It's basically great. You can look up in here the issue, and they'll say go to it's like if you go to know about Biden's missteps on the U.S. military, you go to page 2, and wherever you get to page 2, and you have a whole dissertation. And you get this book on Amazon.com. But come on out to the book event on April 4th and do that. Also, we have First Thursday next week. Our special speaker in honor of Women's History Month is Bonnie Glick, diplomat, former deputy USAID director, and all-around great gal. She does great work in foreign policy. Her son Matthew, in all disclosure, is our board member and one of the past vice presidents of the club as well. Then we have Pi Day on March 14th, where we celebrate Pi. We take that advantage to teach STEM education, and we usually have a nice Republican engineer or somebody like that come on and talk. And then we have the 21st.
It's just an excuse to eat pizza.
Yes, that's true too. And on the 21st, we have a Republican Club special with David Bossie. He's going to be there right back from the election of the new chairman who all indications point to it's going to be the current chair of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And should be great. So come on out 3 weeks in a row. Come have pizza with us.
Busy.
Yeah.
And from the YR side, the Montgomery County Young Republicans are having Taco Tuesday this coming Tuesday at.
Oh, good! I didn't miss it. I saw it and I go. And I
March 5th in the Kentlands. Mm-hmm. So this place is massive margaritas. So definitely come out. It's gonna be great. Conveniently located about 20 feet from my house. I could just stumble home. I can tease a couple of tentative dates for our 3 signature events. We're going to be doing our Crab Feast on July 20th in Wicomico County, our Christmas Gala on December 14th in Carroll County. This is all pending locations approving that. And our convention / first annual Day Perez Memorial Day of Service is going to be on June 22nd. So went a little out of order there, but mark your calendars. It's going to be.
And also mark your calendars for April 13th, Saturday, at the Best Western, Baltimore City. It is off of O'Donnell Street, right off 95, so no bullet dodging or anything like that. But the College Republicans have their convention there. It's their annual convention. Come on out. It's really cheap. Tickets are only $30 for YRs, $50 for us old folk. And there's a lot of cool sponsorships. And their keynote speaker is going to be Councilman David Marks, who's doing an excellent job as a councilman in Baltimore County. Awesome. You're doing a good job, Dave. Doing a great job, Dave.
All right. Well, that's going to about do it for us. Thank you all so much for watching. Spencer, thank you for joining us. Dwight, where are you going to go get dinner now?
I think let's go to Masoni's again. It's such great food, great people. It's worth the hour drive.
Now I want pizza.
Well, they've also got other things. They don't just have pizza, but they got Squire's Pizza. Also, the ice cream is made there, and that is the Masoni family recipe of ice cream. They got this great almond chocolate chip ice cream they have there that is like to die for. And then we have I tell you, we were there a few weeks ago. We should have got them last week when we were there, but they got this thing called spaghetti spring rolls.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I didn't think they taste that good, but Chris and Greg, you're there. They treat you like family. They go, oh, you got to try these. You got to try these. So they were
I'm
good.
Gonna cut you off because I'm getting hungry.
The mozzarella sticks are great, but yeah. And also, if you're a candidate looking, check out RepublicanToolbox.com. Everything you need to know to run for office. Thank you, everyone.
All right. We will be back next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah, next week we've got a really special guest, too.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care. Bye.